Hi, and welcome to the Law Simplified. I'm Shaveen Bandad Nayak. The common misconception among many students worldwide is that the first time that they should write an answer is during an examination. Now, I've said this many times in my Udemy courses, on YouTube, on several videos in fact, and even during my one-on-one masterclasses that I conduct with students world over. But it cannot be stressed enough. One of the fundamental aspects of why students fail examinations is because they are not prepared for it enough. What I often say is that you must approach an examination, specifically that of a law examination, as if you're training for a sport. If you're training for any sport, be it in the Olympics or let's say cricket, which is one of my favorites, or rugby or tennis or whatever it might be, you need to have preparation that's been put into it way before you ever enter into the pitch or the field or whatever it might be. The same applies for an examination. When you're sitting for your examination, that should essentially be a walk in the park. And the way we accomplish that is by writing as many answer scripts as possible in a considered manner. The key phrase there is a considered manner. The reason why I say this is we need to articulate and create arguments based on what's thrown at us. We can never have a one-size-fits-all answer for every type of question that is presented to us, nor should we. You need to be able to think on your feet. But the likelihood of being thrown a curveball, so to speak, in relation to a question is far less if you have encountered similar scenarios way before. When I sat for my LLB examinations, I actually went through a minimum of 40 answer scripts per subject. Essentially, based on the LLB that I did, you had to answer 4 questions during your examination. So by writing 40 scripts before the examination, essentially I had written 10 exams, so to speak. This should be your approach. But having said that, the fundamental reason why we should do this is something that is often overlooked by many students. And that one thing is essentially timing. Timing is doubly more so important in an examination context. You are given a finite number of minutes or a finite number of hours in which to properly read, understand, and then articulate your arguments to be presented to an examiner. Now, to do that, more often than not, students tend to get overwhelmed by what exactly is provided to them in a question during the examination. The one way to dispel this notion and to actually attempt questions properly is to take sample answers, or to write sample answers rather, during or in the context of examination conditions. What I often tell students is when they prepare for their examinations to always write answer scripts way before or way in advance, and to always do so while timing themselves. Make sure that you keep a stopwatch, keep 45 minutes or an hour per question, and always do it in one sitting. Don't break it apart. You don't get that opportunity in an examination, nor should you have given that opportunity to yourself when you're preparing for it either. So, how do we approach timing? Let's take a very simple example. Let's say that you're writing for a 3-hour paper. It's a law examination which is 3 hours. And you're asked to write 4 answers. This essentially means that you have roughly 45 minutes per question with no breaks in between. Now, a good rule of thumb is to allocate 5 minutes of those 45 minutes per question to read that question thoroughly. If you're doing this properly, not only are you reading the question, but also you're understanding what specifically is required from you or what the examiner is looking for. Do enough questions in preparation and you should be able to gather this for the particular subject that you're sitting this examination for. Having allocated those 5 minutes, you have 40 minutes to extensively elaborate and articulate your response. Now, why this is important, why timing in itself is important, is because it will give us an opportunity to train ourselves to write only what is absolutely necessary. Keep in mind that examinations are designed in a way that you should be able to properly answer the said question and actually get the marks that you deserve within those 40 to 45 minutes. So don't ever think that this question doesn't provide me with enough time to answer. Far from it. It's made in that way. Whatever the marking scheme, whatever the way in which that the examiner is looking at you, it's about you, it's about the timing that you provide for yourself within those 40 minutes, how exactly you're going to articulate and present it. This is where it's important to identify what you should put in and what you should leave out. One of the major mistakes or a demerit that I see in many students is that they spend too much time elaborating the theory or the law itself without actually applying it to a given scenario. Now, having said that, the only way that you can do so is to in fact practice, practice, and practice. Have a look at a video that I created a few years back called 5 Tips to Ace a Law Exam. And 2 of the fundamental requirements in that will come in handy when you're articulating and formulating your responses. Now, this is one of the fundamental reasons that I have noticed when I actually provide feedback reports for my students during the one-on-one masterclasses. It's usually a shortfall that many students have in terms of their timing. I always tell students to make sure that you stop at the 45-minute mark, whether you finished it or not. The only way that we can improve is to see how far we've got and then slowly determine where we can be brief, what we can remove, what we can put in, and so on. There are many other tips and techniques that can be incorporated, and I'd be happy to discuss it with you as well. So make sure you get in touch with me through the links in the description below. You can always reach out to me and perhaps even set up a fast track or a masterclass session to develop and hone your technique when it comes to presenting the best version of your answer to an examiner. If this video was helpful, make sure you give a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more videos of this caliber in terms of examination technique, make sure you subscribe to The Law Simplified. I've launched a brand new website, thelawsimplified.com, which has even more content in relation to examination technique, as well as links to my courses available on Udemy, as well as how to reach out to me for masterclasses. But until the next time that we meet, have fun, stay safe, and obey the law.